All right, so today I wanted to talk to you about this bike. I purchased this bike about a month ago, and I honestly didn't know what to say about the bike. I just ridden the bike, very little, but more than that, I just didn't want to do a normal review because, there's so many other videos that you can probably watch and try to understand what this bike is. And I'm also not an expert on a dirt bike, so I don't want to be coming across like I know exactly what this bike is all about. So even though I have owned, some other dirt bikes in the past, and they happen to be on Hondas both, I'm still not an expert. So the experience that I have on dirt, if you have seen some of my videos, are primarily on the Yamaha FZ-09. But specifically, on dirt, using a dirt bike, that's not my forte. So I urge you to watch any other videos if you're looking about, this bike, but I will tell you my take, and my take is actually coming from someone who has only gone on dirt primarily on a bike that was not intended to go, which is the Yamaha FZ-09, and now jumping from that bike after feeling that I have a dual sport that I was somewhat capable, and kind of jumping on this bike that is like way lighter, maybe 200 less pounds than what Yamaha FZ-09 is, and kind of my take. So I'm going to give you a walk around just so you can kind of see the bike, but primarily, think about this. If you're not necessarily an expert, and maybe you're not the type of guy who's gonna go ahead and buy an XR 650 or maybe a, I don't know, maybe a CR250R or 300, whatever of those bikes, think about this as a guy who's coming from having a lot of experience and then just kind of getting his feet wet about whether or not getting into dirt more serious. And this bike allowed for me do that because it actually doesn't cost a lot of money, because I was able to purchase this bike for only $2,000 from a dealership, brand new bike, which of course is a Chinese bike, and I'll show you the engine in a second. You will probably know this engine is actually coming from another copy of another maybe CR bike, a Honda bike, as you see, the structure of the structure and the construction of the engine. So if we look at this bike, it's a 230, so it's a single cylinder 230. Like I said, I'm not gonna focus on a lot of the details, but it has a 21 and a 18 wheel in the rear, and then the primary thing, or the main reason why I ended up purchasing this bike, is primarily because I have some experience kickstart only bikes on dirt, and for example, living here in Arizona, it's kind of difficult, so sometimes it's hot and your bike gets hot, and then you have to turn it over, and it's a little bit hard just having to kickstart when it's about 115 degrees Fahrenheit. I think it looks pretty decent for the amount of money that I'm paying. Of course, that doesn't speak for durability, that doesn't speak for the type of the bike, the power you get. By looking at the engine, I'm pretty sure that a lot of you can potentially determine, hey, this bike looks very similar to maybe a CR or whatever. So you can probably start putting together, the type of bike that it is. So, coming with a petcock, it's a carbureted bike, so you can see carbureted in the back. Something that I noticed after taking it for one time, I already, there was contact from the tire all the way here. So that means that the suspension is pretty soft, and I think I'm going through suspension by only sitting on the bike, but you can adjust it a little bit more. So I'm just going to compress it to see if it can hold my weight better. Then you can see on this side, it's a no name type of master cylinder, and then you have your Kickstarter, you have your reservoir for the rear brake in the back, of course, and then of course it has a light, which I'm going to, since it's a electronic ignition bike, you can get a key and you can see how the lights light up, which is great for whenever you're caught in the dark. And then it has a remote choke, so very similar to decompressing levers. In this case, it's not a decompression lever, but it's more of a choke that you're going to be needing to pull back and alongside with your clutch in order to be able to start the bike over until the bike gets warm. I do appreciate the seat and It has the name of Kayo engraved in the seat. Seat is pretty comfortable, and so far I've only taken the bike for a couple, quick rides around the block in my house. But I also took it to the dirt with a friend, which I'm going to put some footage in here in a second. But essentially, seems like it's holding a pretty decent amount of fuel, and I have only gone through one tank so far. But I mean, I don't think you can say that this is not a somewhat of a sexy bike. I think it looks pretty decent for the amount of money I'm paying. Like I said, it's a Chinese bike, so I'm more than not just kind of just testing and see if this is something that I really want to do, seeing if this is something that I'm going to stay kind of investing in, and maybe in the future I'll go for a more expensive bike. But for the time being, I was just looking for something to see how long this bike is gonna last, and see if I can help other people by showing them how capable it is, and whether or not this is something or a bike that you should be able to get, and what expectation you should have whenever you get a bike like this. So after going through some of those details about the bike, there's a couple things that I want to highlight. I already highlight one of them, which is it's super important to me that a bike is gonna have electric start. Something else that I wanted to point out is the situation that I mentioned in here. So there's already contact, so I want to take care of that. To put it in perspective, I'm about 160 pounds, and I'm 5'6", so that will give you an idea of how soft this suspension is, or for whom this suspension is actually being configured for. The other thing I noticed is my experience with the FZ-09, thinking about FZ-09 brakes are not Brembos, are just Yamaha specific brakes they put on, but I think for the most part they work pretty great, and you can do stainless steel braided lines or something if you want to improve feel or whatnot. But the brakes are decent and I guess capable for the bike. In this particular case, with the bike being I don't know if it has to do anything with weight, but I felt like the brakes were really lacking. So, and of course, these are no brand name. I purchased $2,000 for this bike, so I'm not expecting to have Brembos that will cost maybe a fourth of the cost of the entire package, right? So something that I realized as soon as I got on the brakes, I'm like, whoa, like, there was no real bite, and the brakes were really sluggish and spongy. And then lastly, the power feels pretty good. I have no complaints about the power. I'll be honest with you, I'm not in the market for looking for any upgrades as of right now for exhaust or anything. It actually has a pretty decent sound, so that's something that I'm really happy of, what the bike was capable to do and how it sounds. Like, I don't feel like it sounds like a sewing machine and you have to kind of get on it, right? I mean, quickly, and just trying to get an upgrade or anything. So even though I love to do those upgrades, this is one bike that I'm really not interested in going for any power. Overall, I'm pretty happy. It feels a little bit like modern, but then you're dealing with petcocks again. So of course, it's a little bit, rudimentary, and it feels like, there's you're kind of going backwards a little bit or whatnot. But essentially, I really enjoyed the bike. I was going with other friends that were on bikes and quads as well, and I never felt like this bike was actually letting me behind, where people were waiting because my bike was not capable. In any case, I was probably the one who need to get a little bit more skills under my belt in terms of riding on dirt and whatnot. But essentially, I felt like it was pretty capable, and I was able to go everywhere where everybody else was able to go. So I'm going to do some comparisons, and I'm going to make some quick changes because this is to mod or not to mod. This is not just any other channel. So in my channel, I always like to modify stuff. So I'm just gonna make this bike my own by potentially replacing the handlebar, which is something that, you know, I want to put some like black ones to kind of just tone it down a little bit and make it, give it my own. I might be putting some, you know, handguards just to protect me from whenever you're going through brush. Most part, you know, I think, and then I'm going to get new grips because I dumped the bike on the first day that I broke. So I'm going to be replacing this alongside with whenever I do the handlebar, which I already have a pro taper to put on here. That came from one of my other bikes, and just, you know, just changes like that just to make it my own, but not really anything that will compromise, you know, power or the type of bike or, you know, the engine or whatnot. So let me know what you think. I will be bringing you with me so you can kind of learn about the bike, and if you want to know more, if you want to know if this is bike worth it, I hope I can give you a short term review later on after I put more miles on it. It's only one tank that I've been able to ride, and eventually I'm expecting to go a little bit farther and then just compare with other bikes that I have just to make it fun. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to, you know, share with you my thoughts, and I'll be more than happy to you know, put more videos and content if you're interested. This is something that you would like to see in the future. I appreciate you for watching this video. Share it with people if you know, feel like it can be a value of some other people that are probably looking at a bike like this, or maybe just learning in general. So I appreciate your support. Thank you and have an amazing day.